Welcome to the next episode of The Conscious Female Founder. I am your host, Sally Tarbox, and I am super excited to be sat down with you guys today. I am also the proud owner of a company called the Empowerment Network, where I work with other women and coaches and helping them to increase their income streams within their business. I've also had the absolute honor of being interviewed by Fox TV for my business achievements, and I'm also an international best-selling author. But today is not about me, as it's always not. It is about one of the most amazing women that I'm going to sit down with today and have a chat with, who I just want to highlight and spend the opportunity to really show you guys what is truly possible. And today I'm joined by Tina, who's the owner of LHM Fitness. Tina found herself many years ago in a bit of a spiral in regards to sugar and how she was eating and how it was affecting her life and her lifestyle. And she has managed to, off of the back of that, create an absolutely incredible business where she is working with other people within the community, and she's created a fitness brand. And I'm super excited to kind of hear about your story and sit down with you and just see how you kind of came to this point. So thank you so much for joining me today. That was obviously my introduction, but I obviously want to pass it over to yourself and just get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, I guess, who you are and what you do and how you help people.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Tina. I set up and run and own LHM Health and Fitness. And I predominantly teach fitness classes in Whetstone through that, but that's not all I do. And as you mentioned, I help people reduce their sugar intake. I offer one-to-one personal training. I offer online fitness as well. And I offer some times throughout the year where I can bring a community together to focus on things like healthy habits, and that periodically comes on and off throughout the year. And I tend to run that through WhatsApp groups as well. So I offer quite a lot of different things. I also actually sometimes I teach regularly for a charity weekly, and often teach for other charities when I'm needed, if somebody else is on holiday. So I cover quite a lot of the London Borough of Barnet, but I'm mainly based in Whetstone.
That's amazing. That is actually incredible. Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, because you obviously didn't always do this. So
No, I
there is
didn't.
quite a backstory to this one, and it's an incredible backstory, because I think obviously when we met and we were chatting and things, you obviously had a moment of realization in regards to your health and where life was going, and you weren't feeling great, and you've completely transformed that. So take us back a few steps to kind of explain to us. Obviously, I know the backstory, but just explain to anyone that's listening how this all sort of came about.
Okay, so I suppose my health and fitness journey started back in about, probably it must have been back in 2015 that I had a realization that I kind of always knew that I needed to do something, and that I should really get fit. I had two small children then. I'd had a conversation with someone that I worked with at the time, and she said to me, after I'd had my first child, she said, "Are you going to get fit now, or are you going to just wait until after your other child?" Because when I did it, I just decided not to bother in between and just wait until I'd finished having children and then
Yeah.
get fit. And I thought to myself, because I'm a good procrastinator, I thought to myself, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I'll put
thought,
that
I'll
on hold.
wait.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I'll
Wait
wait.
till I feel like I'm finished.
Yeah, and so that was in probably 2008, 2009. And then I had my second child the year after. And then I thought to myself, I really ought to get fit now. I really should do it. So I remember with a couple of friends, or school mum friends,
Yeah, yeah.
them saying, "Oh, there's a local Zumba." Zumba was massive at that time.
Oh
A
gosh, I
local
remember
Zumba.
them days. I
It
tried
was
one of
a
them classes. I was terrible. I was awful.
it was the kind of class where you go into one of these massive sports halls. It was in the local college, and there was one instructor there with a couple of people helping him, and there must have been 70 or 80 people in that room.
Yes.
And I had just had a back-to-back day, just put the baby in bed and rushed out of the house, and I was exhausted. And I tried it, and I thought, okay, that's okay. I quite like that. I might go again. And then another friend said, "Oh, there's another one in another school. Let's go and try that one." So we went, and then I thought, well, it's kind of okay, I quite like that.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that there was one lady that taught it just down the road from me in another school. So I went to that, and I quite liked that. I much preferred that level that we
Yeah.
were working at. And then I got into fitness from there. So I started to get fit, but I knew I wasn't 100%. I was far from it. I had no energy. I
Mhm.
was suffering with every single ailment that you can think of, whether that's psoriasis in my scalp. If I went like that, massive clumps
No.
of my scalp would fall out. I had massive spots down here. I had no energy. I didn't sleep that well, of course, because I had two young children. But
Yeah.
even if I did sleep well, I woke up tired. I was
Yeah.
lethargic throughout the day. I couldn't focus. As my son got a bit older and I went back to work, I did have a lot of brain fog. And I started to look into nutrition. So then I read up, oh, you might be low in selenium, so eat Brazil nuts. Oh, I'm going to add Brazil nuts.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
start
so
pick.
easy to go down a rabbit hole, isn't it? Where you're like, this isn't working. This isn't. And then you find yourself like at midnight still scrolling and you're like, oh, I need to sleep now.
I know, and there
Yeah.
was a lot less to read then as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking like 15 years ago. There was information out there, but not as much as there is now, and not as much
Yeah.
good quality information either.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
it.
kind of going, let me eat my three Brazil nuts as if that's going
I'll
to
be fine
answer.
after that.
They're
That'll
they're
fix
good for
everything.
you. They're good for you, but not, they're not going to answer everything.
Hmm.
But after a while, I was picking through, and I found out there were certain additives that might cause, like, I used to get hives. I didn't realize that. I thought I was getting bitten. Like I'd eat something like, I don't know, what's its Pringles,
Yeah, yeah.
Quavers, that kind of thing, and then I'd get like itchy parts, and I thought that something had come in and bitten me.
Hmm.
But I realized afterwards that it was hives as a result of some of the additives that are in those kind of products. So I started to remove those. And then I must have stumbled across, it must have been a blog or something. I don't even know. I can't even remember what it was. And it was all about reducing your sugar intake, because if you're low in energy and you don't feel as though you're working at your sort of top level, and you've got brain fog and you can't focus, and a whole host of other things, it might be that you're eating too much sugar. And I was like, oh no, no,
Oh no.
I've got a healthy, I've got a healthy diet. Says the woman who would eat Cheerios for breakfast, followed by a piece of toast with honey on it or
Yeah.
jam on it. Mid-morning, I'd have biscuits with my son in the toddler group,
Yeah.
like a million biscuits, and come back, have my lunch, and then have something sweet after that. Mid-afternoon, have a few biscuits while I'm making a cup of tea to have the biscuits with,
Yes.
Mr. Kipling's, or after dinner ice creams. But in my mind, I wasn't I wasn't eating very much sugar. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to reduce it, but I wasn't ready to do it.
Yeah.
And the point in time that I identified that I really ought to try and reduce my sugar intake was it was about the April-ish of 2014. I went out with a friend to go and see an artist, a band, singer,
Amazing.
and I'd eaten my evening meal, eaten a dessert, and then thought to myself, there's no way that I'm going to make it through the night without some chocolate. And I had some in the cupboard, so I took one for me and one for her.
Yeah.
And when we got there and sat down in our seats, I gave her one, and I said to her, I really need to give this up, don't I? Because I can't even get through one evening.
I
We're talking like
know.
8 p.m. to 11 p.m. and then go home. I can't even get through that one evening without having something,
Yeah.
something sweet. So I made that decision then, and it was about the April of that year, and I didn't psych myself up to actually start to reduce my sugar intake until the October of that year. Now it's right at the end of October now, 2025, and that was 2016, so that's 11 years ago now.
Wow. Gee, it's really interesting, isn't it? You have to, yeah, you have that moment of like realization, don't you? Where it's like, oh, this isn't working. And I think it's interesting as well because your body was reacting in a certain way. And we don't
Yes.
sometimes put all the pieces together, do we? And I think this is a really big one with stress as well. And especially being a mom with young kids or with kids in general and busy lifestyle, you still obviously had a job and things like that. And it
Mm.
because you keep going, don't you? You keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then you have that moment of realization where you're like, okay, something isn't quite working here. And obviously there's the bigger picture and longevity and things like that. So you kind of get to a point where you're like, wow, okay, something needs to change. I think it's really interesting that you said that you realized it and it wasn't until 6 months later you were like, right, okay, now I actually really, really need to do something.
Yeah, because I was addicted to it, and I still am, I'm still addicted to it, but I really want it all of the time. I've just
Yeah.
had lunch and my body is saying to me, is there not anything sweet?
Is there nothing else coming?
Yeah, is there nothing else? But I can't give in to it, and I can feel that craving right now.
Yeah.
But if I give in to it, I just have more and more and more and more and more, which is why I try and avoid it as much as
Yeah.
I can. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with having some sugar, and um,
Absolutely.
but I know what I'm like, and many, many people are like me. And it's not just the, oh, I'm craving it, I'll just have a bit, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's the side effects that then happened to me. So I used to suffer with very regular migraines, extremely
Okay.
regular headaches, back-to-back viruses. So at this time of year, I'd have maybe the flu or a bad virus like that, and then come off the back of that, and then just catch a cold, 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 and then about 2 or 3 months later, another virus, and then another cold, cold, cold. So it was constant. I had
Wow.
a bad IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I had awful digestion, rushing off to the loo after for no reason really.
Yeah, yeah.
Just aches and pains. My body was tired. It felt really old, and now I'm 10, a decade older, and I feel younger than I ever
You
did
did when you were
that
there.
10 years ago, or even 10 years before that when I was in my mid 20s. I never felt
Wow.
as okay as I do now. Only now that perimenopause is kicking in are we starting to go down another route, but that's a
That's a
different
completely different story. There's
different
another hurdle as a
conversation.
woman we have to jump over.
Yeah. But yeah, so that, it was a really profound, such a profound change where, most people might go, well, a little bit of sugar won't help, won't
Mm.
hurt. No, it won't for a lot of people, but for many people, what they don't realize is the symptoms that they're feeling. It's a lot of it
The
is down
link.
to the amount of sugar that they eat and some other bits and pieces, but sugar mainly.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Mm.
It's, even I'm sitting here and I'm like, whoa, what do I need to change? But what, yeah, that is, it's almost like you've kind of taken I don't know, taken the cloth off of like how bad it really is for you, or how it can actually affect you without almost like directly affecting you. Because when I think of sugar, and I'm not a massive sugar eater, but I do like it in its hits. I always kind of think of it as like when you get the spikes, right? When you have something because you're feeling a bit tired, it's that mid-afternoon, like, ugh, and then you have something and you feel a bit better. But obviously, it can come out in loads of different other ways as well.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the main ways that I used to have it. I remember I was fairly new into a job and I was being trained on like the online, record system or something really
Yeah, yeah,
boring.
yeah.
And it was mid-afternoon and I was literally, it was a one-to-one meeting and I was going like that
Oh
and I felt
wow.
really rude, but it's because I was nearly nodding off. If I had continued to eat up until now as I was then, I'd be type 2 diabetic without a
Yes.
shadow of a doubt. And
Yeah.
not overweight as such or anything
No,
like
no,
that,
you're
but I
not
would
at
have
all.
been
No.
type 2 diabetic. And these are all signs that anyone um can pick up on. There's loads and loads of signs
Yeah.
that, it could be bad skin, it could be bad hair, it could be crumbly nails, it could be lethargy, it could be you wake up
Yeah.
feeling unrefreshed, it could be mid-morning, mid-afternoon energy slumps, needing a pick-me-up, craving it, of course, is a massive,
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Oh
massive,
yeah.
massive sign that you're it's not that you're addicted to it as such, but that your body is reliant on it. You can
Reliant
get
on it.
over that. You
Yes.
can get over that. So essentially, so what happened was 11 years ago, I then started to reduce my sugar intake. It wasn't an easy process by any stretch of the imagination, but I did do it. And I've got a lot of blogs on my website.
I said
My
I've read
webs
some of them. They're
Yeah.
fantastic. They
Oh,
are
great.
brilliant. They are
Uh,
though, because they give them in a very kind of like a normal sense. Like I sat and read some of them and I was like, I get this. This is
yeah.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've recorded that, and anyone can go and have a look at those at any time. But then what happened after that? That combination of me going to those fitness classes and me then also reducing my sugar intake, it was as if I woke up because I was
Amazing.
starting to get fitter,
Yeah.
stronger, build some muscle mass, which I didn't have. I was a weakling, and I was kind of like one of those little skinny, a skinny, but all right, a post baby, so baby weight. But
Yes. Yeah.
prior to
Yeah. Yeah.
having children, one of those very, very skinny, weak people.
Yeah. In the,
And I didn't get stronger having babies. In fact, that weakened me even more, of
yeah.
course, because you've got this
Yeah.
massive
Yeah. 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 It takes a
this
lot from
massive
you.
thing growing inside you. So I was weak, I was overweight, but sort of skinny overweight at the same time, no muscle mass. But then all of a sudden, I'm going to these regular Zumba classes, and that also then turned into weights classes. Um, with with changing my diet, having a better awareness, and then I kind of woke up and everything made sense, and I was going to very regular fitness classes throughout the week at that time, and reducing my sugar intake, and Weight dropped off, and I never felt hungry once because I was just eating nutritious food rather
Yeah.
than, boosting the shares of Mr. Kipling's or whatever, or Magnums and stuff. So
Fueling their pockets.
yeah. Yeah, I started to feel really great, really got into the fitness side of things. And then, to be fair to the fitness side of me working in it, going from participating in it to
Yes.
working in it, that was 100% luck and chance. That was.
Yeah. How did it come about? What happened?
So the instructor that I was with at the time, a lovely, lovely lady, she was unwell with, I think it was deep vein thrombosis actually, and she
Wow.
was fairly unwell, and had to stop teaching at her classes, which was a range of Zumba and some weights and other things.
Yeah.
And then the one when she started was able to come back and start to teach, she could teach the Zumba, but not the weights. She had to hold back from that. And something just, I don't know what on earth came over me, but I went to her at the end of the class and I said, "Is there a way that you can train me in the weights? And then I'll teach it for you because I really like them, and I'd love to
Yeah.
do that." And she said, "Absolutely." So she found me the right training course, and I went off and did the relevant training that you
Yeah.
need to do. And then I started teaching for her, freelance. I helped her out whenever she went on holiday. And it just expanded from there. And over the years, I was working my part-time job that I had. I was working in local charities at the time. So I was doing that. And then in the evenings or weekends, as I was needed, I then was teaching classes for her. Then again, just so happens, it was just chance that she then wanted to move on and move away from teaching within the community. And then when she moved away, we came to an agreement, and then I took on some of the spaces that she was using, at that time. And I was really lucky because a lot of the ladies knew me,
Yeah. They know.
and
Yeah.
they'd been to my classes before. So then a lot of them stayed on, and then a lot more people came on as I did my own advertising. And then not long after that, lockdown happened. So I stopped
Yeah.
everything for a while. And she said to me, we parted on great terms. And then she said to me, as soon as lockdown happened, she said, "Come on, let's get together and go online." And I was like, "No, no, no,
I
I'm
can't
not
do
going
it.
online. I'm not going to be on the internet, doing."
Yeah.
No, no, it's fine. You go ahead, And then, because I really didn't know what it was that was expected of us. And because I worked for a charity, I wasn't furloughed either at that time. So
Yeah.
it was really nuts with trying to
Yeah.
work
Liaise
through
and
that and having
yeah.
children. But then when it was 6 weeks in, and then we had the notification that this is here to stay now, and get used to it, I then messaged her and said, "Actually, do you still want someone to help online?
Nice.
Because this is here to stay, and I think if we were to join our people together, we could make something really great out of this." And we did. We did that for quite a while. And then just financially, it didn't work out. And we said, "Look, I'll do my own thing, you do your own thing."
Yeah.
And we did that because we were then starting to be able to go out into the community, do some outdoor classes. And she didn't live around here anymore. She lives further away. So then so essentially at the time of lockdown, LHM Health and Fitness was going to celebrate its first birthday, and we weren't able to do that because of lockdown. So then throughout lockdown, after sort of amalgamating, joining together, joining forces, and then I went back to my own thing. Lockdown had given me the space in my mind to think, right, if you're going to do this,
You
then
go.
if you're teaching for an hour, we need to make that hour worthwhile. So I
Yes.
just put in my mind, put like a financial goal that's like, if it's not going to reach this, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and luckily, for the most part, I did continue. Sometimes when it was, and in the community class, and then there was quite a lot of things about stay indoors, but we were still allowed to do stuff. Some people
Yeah.
did step back. So sometimes, not many times, probably a handful of times, I cancelled a class because there just weren't quite enough people to come to it. But for the most part, after lockdown, I did hit that financial target that I had in my mind, which it was irrelevant, but it was my own
No,
personal
I think it's your
goal.
tick box, isn't it, in your brain as a
Yeah.
business owner and an entrepreneur. I think you have these tick boxes in your brain where you're like, right, cool, I'm good there. That
Yes.
bracket is good.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you kind of want to say, if I'm doing this hour, because it's not just that hour of teaching that you're
No,
doing,
it's not.
it's all of the marketing and advertising and
Yeah.
emails and what have you that goes on behind the scenes that no one sees. So I then pretty much every single time hit that target or above, and that's basically how I've run it since, I still do that mental arithmetic, but that now that I'm doing this as my full-time job, and I don't have a part-time role, and I've got that financial target in my mind
Yeah, of
has
course.
gone up.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think one of the most amazing things actually about what you've literally just said is almost like you said, oh, it was luck. And I don't think it was luck. I think the way you've kind of very amazingly described it is almost like from the start to not finish, because obviously you haven't finished, you're still going, but almost like you saw something and you gave it a try and you pushed yourself, and like you were talking about the sugar, sort of like I didn't like giving up sugar because I was addicted to sugar, but I understood that I wanted something better. So
Yeah.
I did it anyway. And the same goes with when you were just talking about launching online as well in COVID. I didn't like the idea,
Yeah.
but I was willing to have a look at it. So I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's that actually is so incredible about your story, because there are so many people out there that like the idea of something,
Yeah.
whether that be business or changing their lifestyle or relationship or like whatever it is. They like the idea of it, but they're not willing to take the step forward, or they don't want to take the step forward, or something's holding them back. Whereas in your case, every single time, it sounds like you've probably been quite honest with yourself. And you're like, I don't like the next step,
Hmm.
but I'm going to do it anyway because I want the thing that's at the end, and I'm
Yeah.
going to keep going.
Sometimes I see it like, like when you've got one of those big spots that hurts,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you kind of like, what would happen though
yeah,
if I
just
squeeze it?
yeah,
I'm a little bit like that with things. So I don't necessarily like this, I don't
yeah,
necessarily, it doesn't come naturally to me.
yeah,
But what would happen though if I did it? I don't
exactly.
like sticking a camera in front of my face and going, oh, next week we've got this class and this
Yeah,
class and this class.
yeah,
But I do it because I want to see what happens,
yeah.
and it seems to be working because I seem to be having busy classes, or I'm
It
fully
is
booked with personal
working.
training or whatever. So, so it does work. And it's the same with your diet, fitness and nutrition and healthy habits. What would happen? I don't want to not have my Magnum after dinner tonight,
Mm,
ice cream,
mm.
My favorite one was the white chocolate one.
Oh, they're great, aren't they?
They are. Well, they were
They
great, weren't
were, yeah.
I don't want to, I didn't want to, but I had to. Well, I tell you what I did do actually, way back then. I started buying the multi-pack of the mini ones. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to have the big one anymore. I'll have the mini one. And then after a while, I was like, okay, time to stop that now. So I kind of incrementally did that. I didn't want to do it, but I knew what I would feel like. One of the most recent things I've actually done in terms of health and fitness, because there's a few things that I
Yeah,
have tried to stay away from in order to make myself feel better. Sugar is not the only one, but I tell you, one of the most recent ones was alcohol, actually. And I tell you why,
interesting.
because I realized, and this was off the back of a post of an online fitness influencer that I happened to see. She said, oh, alcohol just really does make me feel depressed. And I was like, oh, is that what that is? I didn't realize that it actually makes me feel depressed. So if I have a drink on Saturday night,
On Sunday
I feel
morning.
like, so Sunday I'm a bit groggy, but all right. But Monday and Tuesday, I feel
Mm.
really down in the dumps, and that is from a Saturday night drink. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. So then I just thought to myself, well, I don't really care if I have a drink or not, And I've
Yeah.
always said, I haven't given up, and I haven't because I had a drink this summer. But it's literally been the only one. It's been about two. It was 2 years in May, so it's about what 2.5 years now, where I haven't really had much alcohol at all, and I haven't felt depressed. I haven't felt down. I haven't felt low. Now, when I was away on holiday and I did have a drink, a nice glass of wine, I enjoyed it. And you're on holiday, you don't know if you
Yeah, I think
you
that's a
don't feel,
that's a
don't feel
very
depressed
yeah,
on
yeah.
holiday.
Yeah, you don't need to
Um,
do the washing. The washing up isn't calling you in the back of your head, and yeah, the to-do list is kind of a lot further away, isn't it?
yeah,
But
someone's
yeah,
feeding you. It's all good.
yeah, exactly. Someone else is like clearing up after you. Yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly. So
Yeah,
so I whilst I'm not teetotal as such, but I kind of and I often go, oh, when I go out tonight, I'll have a drink, and then I'll get there and go, I don't fancy
I
it.
don't need it.
So
Yeah,
so I'm very indifferent to it now. So or I'm not anti it. Now, if anyone does want to go down that rabbit hole and have a look at the actual effects that alcohol has on you, then
yeah.
feel free, because it's actually not as harmless as we think. But again, that's another conversation.
Of course, that's
Um,
a bigger conversation. I think
However,
it is actually incredible because you have done all you've done all the things where life is, or you felt a certain way, and you've pushed through it even when it hasn't felt nice, and that's in regards to business, that's in
mm,
regards to your food, that's
mm,
in regards to, I guess, kind of in regards to alcohol, and also in regards to when you probably set, okay, you say it's down to luck. I don't think it is luck, to be honest with you. I think you probably just pushed yourself just because that itch of like, what happens if.
mm,
And it's even down to business where you say like, oh, I took on the classes, oh, can I do the weight training session for you, just
mm.
that question of, but what if, but what if I change this, but what if I do that. And I think that is utterly amazing because there's a big thing that I sort of say, like I say this to my daughter. I say, I'm never going to get to 80 or 90 years old and be on my deathbed and think to myself, oh, I wish I had of X, Y, and Z. I wish I had of. If anything, I'm going to get to the other end and be like, wow, that was a roller coaster. But my goodness me, I learned loads. I had a great time. Look at what I achieved. And you are a shining example of that. You really are, because every single time you've kind of come up against the itch or the what if, you've just done it, and I love that.
I never really thought about it like that, so thank you for shining a light on that for me.
It's true though. It's honestly true.
Um, yeah, I do think that we do need to push out of our comfort zone. And when someone comes into one of my fitness classes and they're very relaxed, you don't have to
Yeah,
be in your matching gym gear and the latest this and that, whatever. Well, you can be in your pajamas, I wouldn't even care. But what I do often say is that, and they'll kind of go, should I use the weight? Should I do the, and I'll say to them, look, try it. And if you need to stop, then stop. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just stop.
happens.
If you can't do it, just stop.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. Just because I'm saying to do something doesn't mean that you need to do exactly what I say. I do, of course, give options for people,
of
but
course.
sometimes I'll look around and someone's doing something completely different, and then I'll go, "Oh yes, because they told me that their back hurts,
Yeah,
so clearly this thing is not working for them. So they've just decided to do something else, or just stop at the edge for a moment for themselves, and that." So I take that across the board. Um, I don't want anyone to feel like, this pre-prescribed thing that we have to go and do it, and you have to give up sugar, you have to give up this, you have
no,
to do that, or in a fitness class you have to do this, or in even more so in that one-to-one training session. I often get, especially from women around my age as well, sorry, sorry, sorry. I said, stop,
yeah,
you're
we
not allowed to
do
say sorry.
apologize.
Stop.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
say sorry. If you can't do it. I don't know what you're apologizing about. We're here, we're testing. Let's see what it is that you
Just
can do.
see.
When we've worked out what it is you can do, let's run with that until you're then able to do the next thing, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very much the compound effect, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Because I read one of the first, this was years ago, one of the very first books I ever sort of properly read, if that makes sense, like as an adult, was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And it was a
Okay.
very simple concept in regards to when we take actions every single day, they compound, right? And then
Yeah.
you get a bigger result. And it's making a decision in life whether you want to eat the cake every single day or eat the apple every single day, if you want to spend the pound every single day or you want to save the pound every single day. And I
Exactly.
think that is exactly what you're teaching people, right? It's the very small compound effects. But I think as a
100%.
result of that, the amazing thing here is what you're actually creating is a huge ripple effect, an absolute massive ripple effect. And that's why I love having conversations with people like yourself and so many others, is because it's like you are creating such a huge ripple effect without probably even realizing it. Because yes, you're helping someone, okay, you're helping a older lady in the community just with a fitness class, and to you this is your business and you're passionate about it, but actually what you're doing is then that woman probably walk away feeling a bit better about life, or she'll be a bit more upbeat that day, or the conversation or the relationship will have a positive effect. So it's a compound effect. Okay, you might just in your eyes be like, I'm just going to put my blog on about sugar or this or that, but actually you're making people think a little bit differently, and the effect it has is huge. And that's why I am so passionate about women who are running their businesses, because to them they're just doing their thing, whereas when you take a step back and you look at it and you're like, the compound effect you're having is huge and it's amazing, because yes, you are helping someone else, but the way that they will feel after that will then have a bigger effect on things that we don't even get to see. And that's why that what you're doing is incredible.
I mean, the compound effect is very much along the same lines as Atomic Habits, and
Yes.
that those kinds of things.
Yes,
But that's
brilliant
exactly how
book.
I run. Yeah, really good. It's exactly how I run things. Quite a few years ago, I used to call it sugar maths, and I worked out, I think it was McVitie's chocolate digestive biscuits, right?
Oh, I love them.
Two per day. Yeah, love them, right? Two per day, normal. Yeah. But
Yes,
over the course of a year, I think it was like 4.1 kilos of sugar.
that's
Just,
huge.
yeah, just those two. So it's like, well, that's all right. It's a 4.1 over the course of a year. But if it was me, it was those two biscuits, in addition to what? In addition to my sugary
Yeah.
cereal, the jam on my toast,
Mm,
my sweet pastries, the cakes that I would have, the sweets and the chocolate. So
yes,
then all of those, so even if all of those five or six end up being 4 kilos per year, that's many, many kilos.
yes.
And it's that compound effect. So, or one of my cousins once said to me, "Oh, I hate you every single time I have a cup of tea. I can't get rid of that final half a
Like,
teaspoon, the final half a teaspoon of sugar in my tea." And I said, "Well, how much did you have before?" She said, "Two." And I said, "Well, don't think about the final teaspoon. Think about how many cups a day you have and how many lots of 1.5 teaspoons you're now not having, and how
yes,
much that would be over the course of a year or over the course of your lifetime, and how much then will your body be thanking you for
yeah,
that change?" Because we all
yes,
know, none of us, we all know the effects that sugar has on the body. It's wider than most of us think, but mainly it's type 2 diabetes if we just think about it in that term. But
yeah,
but sugar really does have an effect on most other things
yeah.
in the body. So, if we need to think about that compound effect, funny you say that about the blog, about that having a compound effect. The
It
blog
will.
on my current website isn't the original one. You may see on some of the blogs on there the sugar-based one where it says originally written in 2016 or something like that. Because that was on an old blog site called London Health Mum, which is why
Yeah,
I
which is,
became
yes, I saw
LHM
that.
Health
That's
and
why you set it
Fitness.
up. Because correct me if I'm wrong, you actually set up the blog first of all, didn't you? To kind
That's
of
right.
document with the outside world, which I kind of love. You sort of, it's almost like I feel like you did it behind like the laptop, like gonna document it, but you did document your journey, didn't you? And then that's where
Yes.
things have taken off.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah,
right. What I actually did was in my lunch break while I was at work one day, I set up a Twitter page.
love
And
this.
back then you couldn't use it was really short characters, but the handles were really short as well. And I didn't know what to call it. And a lot of the decent handles had gone. So all I got was London Health Mum.
I
And I was
love
like,
that.
well,
Yeah, I'll
all right,
take
I'll
that.
have that then.
Yeah, I'll take
You
that
know.
one.
So then I was just tweeting and quite quickly got quite a lot of followers for that time, not by today's standards. But
Yeah,
and then someone that used to interact with me quite a lot just said, "I really love these tips, but have you ever thought of doing a blog where you can have
longer.
longer?" Because you couldn't even reply to your own tweet then and then make a thread. It was
Yep.
literally just like the 2 or 3 lines and that was it. The however many characters you would get. So that's why I did. And I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. What's a blog first of all?" And then I worked and then I set that up. That blog actually was nominated for awards. I think it won one as well. And it was also featured on the American website healthline.com as one of the best 10 sugar-free blogs in the world.
Shut up. That's amazing.
Was I don't know if that page still exists on the Healthline. I should have a look. I mean, I don't think there were more than 10 sugar-free blogs anyway
That's
in the
not the
world.
point. That's incredible.
Yeah, so that's it. So it got quite a lot of traction, and over the last time I checked the stats on it, I don't even know if I can access the stats anymore. But the views and the reads were in the hundreds of thousands, absolutely loads, which was really good. But sometimes life takes over, doesn't it? And you
Of
just can't,
course.
you can't just. I go back and say, "I should have done this, I should have done that." I just
You could
couldn't,
live life
I
like that.
couldn't to give it any more than I did. But that's fine. It's still there, and even yesterday I took one of the old blogs off of it, updated it a bit, and then stuck it on my current website. So the information's still there, so for people to read and benefit from. So I think it's definitely had a compound effect because a lot of people have said, "Oh, I've read your blog and I've made changes and I've already lost a stone or I've already lost a few pounds or whatever." And I don't even know who these people are. So, and that's
Um,
really nice because you want to think about it, the bigger picture. So as soon as anyone says start speaking to me, in their mind they go blank and they're like, "Well, I'm not doing that because I'm not giving up everything." And I was never said that. I
yeah,
never
you can do
said
that. Yeah,
I never
yeah,
said completely cut everything out and you're just
yeah.
eating, an egg and an avocado and
Yep.
that's it. But what I'm saying is for the majority of the time, eat really well, nutritious food. And then if you want here and there, you can have this or you can have that or whatever. You choose. It's not even up to me. You
Yeah,
choose what you're going to have. But provided you're not doing what I used to do and eat it at various times throughout the day, 5 times or more
yeah,
throughout the day, because that's just wrong.
yeah. I mean, my brain is just blown, to be quite honest with you. There's just so much information. First of all, I love the fact that you, the lady that created a Twitter account on her lunch break on a whim, then managed to go on and do that. I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. But it shows, doesn't it, that you kind of just you took it and you ran with it, and to you it's just like, okay, well, I'll just go with this, and this is what happened. The same
Yeah,
thing.
just
Let's see
try
what
it.
happens, and that's
Try it.
what you created at the end of it. It's like, what? That's madness, but incredible. And I think that is why these stories are so inspiring. Just run with it. Just run with it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just have a go. Just start. Do the starting point. It's always the starting point, which is the hardest point. But if you go with that like kind of attitude of like, well, just have a go, and then you create something off of that, that's amazing. That was the first thing I was like, what? I didn't realize you'd done that. That's amazing, Tina.
I'd forgotten, to be fair, so it just came to me now.
I love that. But then the other thing that I think you really highlighted as well is like how sugar kind of it takes a real. It's really interesting. I've done a lot of. I'm a mindset coach as well. I've done a lot of obviously work around mindset and things like that. And one of the big things that I've learned, and especially with myself as well, when there is something that's coming out of my body, and I mean that in a way of like illness or not feeling great or my sleep's crap or like whatever, I've always managed to kind of get to the point where I realized that disease is like dis-ease within my body. And there's something else that's obviously kind of going on. And I need to treat that first of all so that everything else has, again, a compound effect off of the back of that.
Mm.
But I think it's really interesting to understand because I think sometimes when we think about consumption of like what we're putting in, we sometimes don't associate it with what's coming out. So in regards to like you were saying, like you were getting hives, you were getting bad skin, your sleep was disturbed, you were feeling this horrible brain fog, fatigue. So I think it's really good to sort of pull it back sometimes and be like, right, okay, let's strip it back to the absolute basics of I don't feel great. So what am I putting in my body, first of all, that's maybe having an effect of what's coming out at the end of it? That makes sense. So it's kind of unpicking it. So I think that's a really, really important point to pick up on, because as mums and women and business owners and things like that, we do generally just keep running, and it's the next thing. Everybody has busy lives, right? We do keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. But it's those conversations of like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. Oh, I feel like crap. But actually, it's almost like taking back the responsibility and being like, right, let me actually have a look of what I'm doing for myself, my own human vessel, and how can I best aid that. So that again, I think is just so important. As I do say to people, I say, this isn't the trial run. This isn't the premiere for the big movie. This is the big movie, and we need to make sure that we are writing the play or the screen show or whatever the way we want it to happen in our life. And that's exactly what you've done. Is absolutely incredible.
I fully agree. Over the years, I've worked for quite a long period of time with certain people. There's one lady who comes to my classes now, and I used to exercise next to her in the other ladies' classes when I
Yeah.
was a participant. And saw an old photo of her. She hasn't changed a bit. She has not changed a bit in, in 10, longer than 10 years, like 12, 14 years. She hasn't aged. She hasn't changed a bit. There's somebody else that I work with one-to-one, and I have been since he was 69. And I think it's definitely about to turn 76. It might even be 77. And he's
Love that.
younger now than he was then, and he's a gardener and he tends to his own garden beautifully. And
Crazy.
he's, happily lifting massive pots filled
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
shrubs and soil, and just lugging them down up and down his garden.
Love that.
And that is it's the these outcomes, they come from I'll tell you, one of the first things he ever said to me when I came to his house, implemented by his wife, he said to me, "I'm not a fitness freak. I'm not a fitness
Yeah.
freak. I don't want, and he really didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
But now in the morning, you can see I've got my kettlebells there. He's got his own ones. He'll just do a
Yeah.
few bits and pieces, a few squats, listening to the radio show that he
Yeah.
likes, and then he puts it to one side, on with his day.
Goes on with his
He'll
day.
do
Yeah.
some stretches, but those 10 or 15 minutes that he does on most mornings is what is keeping him now. He's got muscles in his arms. He's
Yeah.
gonna be 70. If it's not 76, it's 77.
It's
Um,
amazing.
and because he's doing his 10 minutes per day, and then he doesn't even see me once a week, he sees me fortnightly, so it's not loads of sessions that
Yeah.
he does with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I help him, we do a decent workout, he learns some of the moves and things, and then he goes off and then takes them on himself. And it's
Yeah.
that compound. It's the same with reducing your sugar intake.
Yeah.
You take out a couple of the morning biscuits, you reduce the amount of sugar that you have in your tea, you don't drink a can of Coke daily, you might have two a week, let's say.
Yeah.
Over the course of a period of time, that's where you get your results. And it's the same with running a business. I
Yes.
do all of those videos of myself. Look, we've got a class here tonight. I put my posts out, I share it out into Facebook groups. I do all of my social media. I send out flyers when I can. I got my website up to date. And all of that time that I spend incrementally, it's not loads and loads. If I spend a lot of time over it, then I'm doing for quite a lot of days worth of
Yeah.
work, if not
Yeah.
weeks worth of work. Or it's a few minutes per day, but then that it snowballs into something bigger, and then more people understand who I am, where I deliver
Yeah.
things, how to find me, and then decide whether they want to come to a class or not. So, all of these things, they're all the one and the same thing. It's having that consistency, the compound effects, like you mentioned from that
Yeah.
book, or your atomic habits, that
Yeah.
1% daily, that
Yeah.
1% of
Yeah.
something daily, that's
1%.
10 extra minutes where you leave that downstairs and
Yeah.
you go off to bed for an extra 10 minutes. That's
Yeah.
70 minutes less per week.
Yeah.
So we want to think
Yeah.
about all of these tiny little incremental
Absolutely.
things. It's not an overhaul. We're never dieting. We're never going all
Yeah.
out with coming to a million classes a week. I don't even offer that many classes a week because I don't want that. I
Yeah.
offer 3 times: Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays. That's
Yeah.
it. Mondays,
Yeah.
Wednesdays, Saturdays, that's more than enough. You can't, if there's some people that do come to a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday, it's enough. You don't need to do any more than that.
Yeah.
But that compound effect, and it just goes on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, I'll get somebody come to me and say, "Oh, you know what, Tina? A couple of years ago, they said I was type 2 diabetic, but I just had my appointment yesterday and I'm not anymore. I'm not on any meds." And that's
Yes.
because I exercise with you and I've now got muscles on me, and I
Yeah.
cut down my sugar intake.
Oh, I love hearing stories like that because the thing is, it's like we're trying to change our little slice of the world. And that's how I
Yes.
always liken it, right? We're trying to change our little slice of the world for the better. But like you said, the compound effect and the ripple effect it has on other people,
Mhm.
you is absolutely huge because that person, that guy that's in his 70s, if he hadn't have done those things, would his life looked like that? You don't know. You can't answer those big questions. But what I'm saying is his life is so much more positive for it because of people like you that are and it's exactly like you said, right? We're not dieting, we're not taking away, we're not like, because I think it's very interesting as well. I've done a lot of research in regards to like how we think and the brain and stuff like that. And when we say we're taking something away, the brain sees it as a loss, right? And it doesn't, and it tries to cling on to it as much as possible. But what you're sort of doing and what you're saying is actually, if we just change things very small, right? Like you said, like when people come to my class, I don't care what you come in. You don't need
Mm,
to look a certain way. You don't need to be wearing the clothes. You don't need to pick up the heaviest weight. Let's just change something slightly and just see
mm,
how we work with that one. Does that feel good?
mm,
Does that feel
mm,
good? Do you feel a little better? Okay, cool. You do.
mm,
Okay, well, let's change a little bit more. So it's that very small incremental change that then is having these massive results where a 77-year-old guy is doing his gardening, he's having a great time, he's living his best life, and so he should. But
that's
that's
right.
because of people like you.
Yeah, I mean, he used to, he loves going with his wife into central London and going to all of the art galleries, all of
I
any
love
exhibition.
that.
But in the past, what used to happen was, maybe the lifts were broken and they had to use the stairs, and he used to panic, and he
Yeah.
used to get really upset because he knew that it would set him back. Whereas now he'll go, well, never mind, and
Never
off
mind.
he trots up the stairs,
Yeah.
because he can,
Yeah.
and that by that it doesn't matter if you're 77 or 37, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's always someone that feels like, I'm the same, there's things I can't do, and then when I
Of
kind of
course,
click on it,
right?
and then you start to be able to do it, then you're like, oh great, I can do that now. That's really good because I couldn't before.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but any age or any type of person, can start to pick away at something, and
Yeah.
then if they are consistent and persistent, yeah, then
Yes.
they will see results. If they try it a little bit and go, oh, I'm not sure if that's for me,
Yeah.
then they give it up. Of course, you're not going to get results. It's just being there's consistent and there's persistent, and you've got to
Yeah.
be those two things in order to get results.
And I think that is so true for the industry that you're in, and equally in business, right? It's consistency and being persistent.
Yeah.
And I do think the more, like you said, you kind of scratch at something and you're like, okay, this is working. I feel better. My business is working better.
Mm,
Okay, I'll keep doing that thing that makes me feel better. And
mm,
then something else happens off of the back of that. And you're like, okay, this feels good. This feels good. And it's about taking those steps. And don't get me wrong, I think sometimes the first step is always the scariest. And that's in regards to fitness, regards to stepping into a gym, in regards to business. The first step is always the hardest one. Let's not shy away from that. But I guarantee you, if you have a vision and a goal in mind, take the first step, because you will feel so much better. And then that's the moment, even the first fitness class someone does, or the first time someone sets up a Twitter, like, or anything, because then you can sit there and be like, oh, well, I didn't achieve that yesterday, but I've achieved it today and I feel pretty damn good for it. So, and it's amazing.
I fully agree, and because of that, actually, I've just launched last week something brand new for beginners because it is
Go for it.
abrasive. Starting this kind of thing is very abrasive. You just don't know where to start.
It
If
is.
you were a beginner, let's say it doesn't even matter what age you are. You might be overweight, you might not be, but you're
Mm.
probably unfit. You know you should on and need to exercise to make yourself better, feel
Yeah.
better. You want to feel better. You want to look better.
Mhm.
You don't know where to start because you look out there and you go, "Oh my goodness,
Too
where do I
overwhelming.
start?"
Yeah.
So what I did was I created an online program called Get Active with Tina, right? And what I've done, what it is it's you log into it and there's a small library of short,
Amazing.
um, mostly body conditioning classes. Now, body conditioning, not bodycon, like, you're really conditioning everything.
Yeah.
One of them, I've called it cushion conditioning because you're holding a cushion and you're holding like with basically a pillow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're doing a few moves with this cushion. Now, if you're tired, if you're unfit and fairly weak, even moving a cushion around is going to be tiring, right? So
Yeah.
it's probably about, I can't remember, it's about 18 minutes or maybe or 20 minutes
Brilliant.
something of
Brilliant.
moving around with this cushion. And then you can log in, you can do that whenever you want, log out. What
Yeah.
is also on there, so there's some other short workouts as well. Most of them you don't even need to use the mat.
Yeah.
So you're stood upright most of the time. The outcomes are that you will get a bit fitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
you will get used to doing some exercise. The abrasiveness of it has gone because you don't need to leave the house. You don't need to book into
Yes.
anything. You don't need to wear tight leggings. You don't need to feel uncomfortable in a sports bra. You could do it at home. You could just be in a pair of shorts and just your normal bra if you wanted
Yeah.
to, or you
Yeah.
could be in your pajamas or in your sort of lounging around the house type clothes because nobody can see you. You've logged
Amazing.
in, you've done it at your own time. You could do it, maybe you work really well at 5:30 in the morning. Maybe you can't stand the idea of that and you get in from work at 5:45 and you're like, right, come on, let's do this workout now and then I'll
Yeah.
go and eat my dinner after that.
Yeah.
Also on there is a shopping list to help you,
That's good.
yeah, to help you remember the kind of things that you want to buy when you're out and about. So if you get a copy of that shopping list on your phone or write it down and you're out and about, normally you might be going down and like,
Oh
where's the
yeah.
dairy milks? But
Oh
but the shopping list says, remember things like, I don't know, tinned tuna
yeah.
or avocados or whatever, things that you might not normally choose for
Mm,
yourself. When you've got that stuff in the house, you're much more likely to use it.
yeah.
It's got some recipes in it as well, which is
Yeah.
really good. So you can, when you might look at those recipes and go, do you know what? I might not like exactly how the recipe says, but I could swap this out for that or
Yeah.
whatever. And they're fairly simple recipes, all low in sugar, of course. And it's also got some women's well-being articles. So whilst you might not be in the
Amazing.
mood to exercise and you might not be in the mood to change your diet at today, but you might be in the mood to go on and have a little read. And I've got a few bits and pieces on there, mainly around sort of supplementation for peri to
Yes.
postmenopausal women, and some information about creatine and collagen, because those are two
Yeah, they're big things.
areas that are being talked about at the
Yeah,
moment.
they
So it's
are. They're very
really
hyped
useful
words.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like a really useful hub. And the best thing about it is it costs £10 per month. So that's £2.30 per week,
Oh
less
my
than a cup of
gosh,
coffee. Yeah. So
that's
really cheap.
brilliant.
So that's all of the abrasiveness of getting fitter,
Yes.
healthier, and putting in some healthy habits is gone because
Yeah.
it's £10 per month. And if you
And
go
you've
on to
taken
it,
the stress out of it for us.
yeah, there's no stress.
No,
You sign
I
up.
think you've made it easy. You've made it so
Yeah.
easy. And I love stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
as
So
a really busy mum, when someone says to me, oh, all you need to do is that, I'll be like,
yeah,
cool. If that tells me everything I need to do, then
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm
yeah.
yeah.
It's your hub. You log into it, it's got all of the bits and pieces, you access what you want from it. And because it's so low in cost, if you manage to do something every fortnight, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's only £2.30 a week. When you've had enough of it, you just unsubscribe and you don't. But you get it for £10 per month. As the months go on, then I can keep adding more and more and more to
More
it. It's
things.
brand
Yeah.
new. So it's like
Yeah.
a nice little hub of bits and pieces. But as time goes on, more's
More
gonna
and
go
more.
in there.
Thank you so much. Because one of my last questions was going to be like, oh, what are you going to do with the next, like, as we close for the year? But I think that is it. That's the focus, and that's absolutely incredible. Growing that sort of like that community. Obviously, yes, you have your fitness classes. You have that. Oh, I just imagine that lovely man at 77 just lugging his stuff up and down his garden. But you're doing that as well, so you're kind of being able to deliver a service to so many people on such a broad spectrum.
Mm.
One of the last questions that I ask people always is, if you could look back on your life now, to someone who might be listening who is in a position you were, what, like 10, 15 years ago, feeling this sense of sluggishness, kind of not feeling great about themselves, kind of maybe slightly wary about exercise because they haven't been to a gym or haven't done exercise in years, what would be one pieces of advice you would give them just to make a very small change to just make themselves feel slightly better?
Go to
Such a
bed
big
on
question.
time. Go
Go
to
to
bed
bed
on
on.
time
Yeah.
or earlier. Because when you've had a really decent night's sleep, then tomorrow you're going to feel much more in the mood to do the things. Because I think any that person has
That's
got
so
an inkling of
true.
what it is that they like. They probably like swimming, or they probably like going for a walk, or they probably like tennis, or they
Yeah.
probably like the idea of going to a dance-based class, or
Yeah.
they probably like the idea of moving some weights around.
Yeah.
And all of those things are accessible to everyone, pretty much, almost.
Mm.
But they might not be in the mood to do it because they
Yeah.
had a shocking night's sleep last
Sleep.
night. Yeah,
Yes.
and oh, I just feel too tired. I'm gonna get in from work. I'm gonna eat my food. I'm gonna get my
Yes.
dessert, sit on the sofa, watch
Get
Bake
on
Off.
sofa, watch Netflix.
Yeah, and I'm gonna scroll on my phone because I'm
Yeah.
just too tired.
Yeah.
So get a decent night's sleep. Now, what a decent night's sleep actually also means is, that phone, get it away from you about an hour before bed. Um, Offload your thoughts. Look, I've got a notepad here.
Yeah.
Just,
Just get
an
it
hour
out.
before bed. What is it that's going on tomorrow? Do I need to buy
Yeah.
a birthday present for
Decompress.
someone? Birthday card. Oh, I
Yeah.
need to remember to put this on the order. Blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. That just goes in a random list. Chuck it in the list. Get rid of your phone. And then just go, right, I am not going to nod off on the sofa. And then all of a sudden it's 2:50 in the morning and I have to go
Mm.
upstairs
Yeah.
because we've all done that,
Oh, we've
right?
all done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to
Horrible
go
feeling as
upstairs.
well.
I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to get into bed. It's as simple as that. Go to bed. And then just see how great things start to feel from tomorrow. You're like, oh, do you know what? Maybe I do have enough energy to cook a healthier meal tonight rather than just having pasta and pesto. Or, maybe I do have the energy to whatever. And oh, tonight I will go to bed earlier again. Maybe tonight I'll have a bath before I go to bed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then things start to incrementally get better after that.
Thank you so much, I feel like you are the queen of fitness. You are the queen of
Ah!
the compound effect, and you are the queen of just doing it and just seeing what happens on the other side. So you're an absolute inspiration. So thank you so, so, so much for joining me and sharing your story with me today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's an absolute honor. What I will do is I will share all your links in the show notes below so that people can reach out to you if they've got questions or they want to come to a blog. I definitely read that because I enjoyed reading it. So yeah, I will share all your links, but thank you so much. And I'm just so happy to meet someone like you that is changing the lives of other people in such a positive manner. It's just wonderful to hear. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.